For me, it has been an honor and a privilege, to serve as a priest, as a bishop, to serve God's people. And in this service, it has not just been, restricted to the Catholic Church. I tried my best to do my best, to serve, to be at the service of God's people. And I hope my best was good enough for the people I've been serving. If it wasn't, still my conscience is clear, is that someone cannot do better than their best, can they?
A nation mourns, the Catholic Church grieves, and heaven welcomes a faithful servant home. Archbishop Telesfo George Mpundu was a Catholic priest, bishop and archbishop up to the end. Zambia has lost one of her greatest spiritual fathers. Archbishop Emeritus Telesfo George Mpundu, a man of humility, a fearless voice of truth, a shepherd who dedicated his entire life to serving God and humanity. He dies on 15th May 2026. During his episcopal ministry of both as Bishop of Mpika and Archbishop of Lusaka, Mpundu served multiple terms as president of the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops. He was widely respected for his strong advocacy on governance, social justice, and national affairs. Archbishop Mpundu spoke on matters of truth and justice without seeking personal ambitions or power, while shepherding the faithful by his life of humility, wisdom, and compassion. Upon his early retirement as Archbishop of Lusaka in 2018, Lumen TV Zambia hosted the Emeritus Archbishop to share his life. Thanks to the late Mr. Ben Kangwa, who gave himself to conduct the interview.
Your Grace, we would want to know, who is Archbishop Telesfo George Mpundu?
I was born 71 years ago, so I am a senior citizen. I started schooling in my own village, 1954, in lower primary school. After that, I went to the parish center, our parish center, for middle primary. And after middle primary school, I already entered the seminary, preparatory seminary, which at that time was standard 5 and 6, upper primary school in the seminary. From there, I qualified to go to Lubushi Seminary, where I studied from 1962 through 1966. In 1966, I went to the senior seminary in Kachebere in Malawi, after which I was ordained a priest in 1972. I went back to my home diocese of the Archdiocese of Kasama, where I worked for 10 years in various capacities as assistant priest, as parish priest. I even spent about 5 years teaching at Lubushi Minor Seminary. Then I was sent to Canada to do a couple of years of studies, mainly connected with justice and peace, and the teaching of the scriptures on justice, and what those scriptures, especially the ancient texts, mean for today's life. And it was very exciting. And from there, I got this passion to work for justice in order to bring peace among people. You go to the prophetic literature, the prophet Isaiah, the prophet Amos, the prophet Ezekiel. You will see this literature is probably the most revolutionary of all literature you can get. And that's why in that big meeting of the bishops that took place from 1962 to 1965, known as the Second Vatican Council, in a special session, And that special session is put in the annals or in the writings, the records of Vatican Council to us, Gaudium et Spes, meaning the hope and joy, the joy and hope. It says, whatever comes across to our people as part of their life, their way of life, also affects the church. Because the church is not living in a vacuum. The church is living in a certain community at a certain time with certain conditions. So if our brothers and sisters are rejoicing, we rejoice with them. Our brothers and sisters are suffering, we suffer with them. Now, in 1982, I was appointed to work at the Catholic Secretariat. And then 1982 right to 1987, I was Secretary General of the Bishops' Conference here in Lusaka, when I was appointed Bishop of Mbala. I was appointed on the 14th of April, 1987. That rings a bell. Yeah. My successor installed on the 14th of April.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence. But with God, there are no coincidences. Everything is in his own plan of salvation for us. So that is it. From 1987, I was Bishop of Mbala. Later on, the name was changed because we moved the diocesan headquarters from the very north of the diocese to a more central place, 400 kilometers to the south, Mpika. Well, after I had done that kind of work, it was building new infrastructure for the new diocese, and later on also adjustment of diocesan boundaries. I thought I was really quite, tired. And I jokingly said to the Apostolic Nuncio at that time, Archbishop Antonini, said, now you can leave your servant to go and rest. And he just laughed it. You are not even 20 years as a bishop. Just forget about it. I think in revenge, the following year, I just heard that I was appointed as a coadjutor, Archbishop of Lusaka. I said, God bless me. It is at least another 15 years. Anyway, I pledged to serve the church under my superiors. So I'm going to do it. And so I came on the 21st of November, 2004. I was installed a coadjutor archbishop at Roma. Now, coadjutor simply meant my predecessor was about to retire. And in order to preempt all this speculation about succession, the Holy See, 2 years before time was due, they put someone as coadjutor. So I was there in waiting. At the same time, I was going to Mpika as apostolic administrator. 2 years later, I took over the reins from my distinguished predecessor, Cardinal Mazombwe. So from that time on, I thought I had done my bit, and I asked the Holy See if I could be given an early retirement. I still have 4 years to go, but the mileage I've done inside me, I think goes to about 120, 120 years. So, and the Holy See, after some years of waiting, accepted that I should be given an early retirement. Okay. So here I am.
In a nutshell, how would you describe your priesthood journey from 1972, when you were ordained as a priest, to the time, January 2018, when you actually resigned?
Yes, it is very eventful, very exciting, and not a dull moment. As a priest, you are like a soldier. Your superiors tell you to go there and to do that job, and you go and do it. And you go there and do it. All along, that is what it has been. But it was not just a question of making a virtue out of necessity. I enjoyed it because this is what I wanted to be. I wanted to become a priest. I became a priest after quite a number of years, formation. And what I had set out to do, I was doing. what else can you ask from life? It has been enjoyable, it has been challenging at times, but the Lord did not promise us a rose garden. Even ordinary life, I mean ordinary life of the laity who are not clergy, is full of very difficult circumstances and wonderful moments. That's how it is. I must say I've enjoyed my work, and I thought it was time, when I was still, a little, strong, to go into retirement. And by the way, we have found out that the average number of years that bishops spend after they have retired is 6, and they are dead. I wanted to stay a little longer than 6 years. I haven't been sacked by the Holy See. I asked to retire myself.
Your Grace, the Catholic Church celebrated 125 years of its existence here in Zambia. This whole huge ceremony was held at the showgrounds in the main arena there, and you had about 7,000 Catholics who came to witness this, and they were from all over the country. Tell me, just a brief background of people who do not know how the Catholic Church started here in Zambia.
Yes, indeed. Actually, it started by accident.
What
and
do you
as
mean?
we say, with God there are no accidents. The first missionaries who came to Zambia to earnestly begin evangelization were actually 4 missionaries of Africa who were on their way from North Africa. They were going to Uganda. But then, as they came through Mozambique and entered, that time it was a British South Africa Company territory, in between Tanzania and Zambia, there they stopped because one of them fell sick, very seriously sick. In fact, he subsequently died. So when their colleague died, they were waiting for instructions from their superiors. Communication was very difficult at that time, 1891. So in the meantime, they received instructions that, well, for the time being, you can as well start evangelizing. And that's how they stayed. That's how they stayed. Later on, they were boosted by others who were sent to evangelize our country. From 1891, 5 years later, less than 5 years, about 5 years later, another group of missionaries came to join them. In 1897, the first bishop to be ordained in our soil, Catholic bishop, was ordained on the 15th of August, 1897 in Kayambi under a tree. And that priest who was ordained was Father Joseph Dupont, who became Bishop Joseph Dupont. The name that is well known by is Bishop Motomoto.
Why Motomoto?
Motomoto because it meant someone who was really very energetic and who would not take no for an answer. And that is it. And it is from there that missionaries spread to the rest of Zambia.
Right, so the Catholic Church has grown big. I think it's one of the biggest Christian churches here in Zambia. Yeah. Is there anything that the Catholic Church can learn from other faiths that are here in this country that are represented?
Not one person is totally self-sufficient. Not one institution is completely self-sufficient. Not even one country is self-sufficient. We all depend on one another. This collaboration must continue. Surely, we learn a lot from other denominations, even their methods of evangelization, even their efforts at making themselves a self-supporting church, self-propagating church. We have learned quite a lot. And through our ecumenical collaboration, our ecumenism is largely very practical. We cooperate in fields of health delivery services, in schools. So we learn a lot along the way. So we don't say we have it all as Catholics, we know it all. we are permanent students, learning from others, apart from learning from the Holy Spirit, from God himself. And God often comes to us through others. So we are very much open to learn from others, and we will continue learning from others.
I know that as there are 3 mother church bodies, you call them, and you collaborate pretty well. Do you sometimes feel there are challenges as you try to reconcile your perhaps differences?
You see, differences have to be not reconciled, but addressed through ecumenical dialogue. Now, the ecumenical dialogue sometimes involves theological dialogue. At that level, we are not yet there. We leave the authorities of the church mother bodies where we come from, like, from Rome and, from whatever source that other denominations come from. They do that at that level. For us, we are involved in practical ecumenism, where we collaborate in our work of reaching out to the people, because Christians are given a mission. We are not just there to be associations or groupings that are known by the registrar of societies and to be just admiring one another, like a mutual admiration society. No, we are there on a mission. Now, reaching out to people, to the poor, we work together, we learn from one another. Speaking on behalf of the voiceless, it has been a wonderful journey of cooperation among church mother bodies. But we leave it up to our mother bodies elsewhere, where we come from. They are doing that on our behalf, and the fruits of what they do there, they trickle down to us. Bishops are successors of the apostles, and the faith that we have comes to us through the apostles. They are the ones who heard Jesus, who saw him before he died and after he died. So whatever we know about our faith comes to us through the apostles. Now, there is this apostolic continuation.
Let me move on now to the relationship between the Catholic Church in Zambia as a whole and the government on the other hand.
We have nothing to fear. Pope John Paul II, when he was elected Pope, he went to the conclave that elected him Pope on public transport, on a bus. The most effective weapon is truth. That is Jesus, Jesus with you. We become free. We are free because we believe in ourselves as human beings, loved without limit by God. Our human dignity is enhanced. No one is going to silence us. We feel free, but we also respect others as reflecting the image of God. Our mothers, our brothers. This is the greatest thing that has happened to me. I'm not afraid of death.
I think we should go back to the Kaunda days, just to be specific. I'm asking this because you have recollections of the late Archbishop Elias Mutale. I understand he was an impressive man who doubled as administrator of Lusaka in the late 80s. But unfortunately, in the 90s, he died in a mysterious car accident en route from State House. Rumors, of course, circulated that he had been killed by state security agents. It's also viewed that the late bishop's accident was at the hands, of course, of the... It's also viewed, I'm not saying this is what happened, by the state operators, or is it just, do you think it's just a conspiracy theory?
I think it is, because take it from me, that the night that he died, he was not coming from State House at all. He had gone to visit friends.
Okay, so...
Yes, we had just come out of a meeting where we were studying Islam, And so he first of all went to see Father Bantungwa, who was due to go for an operation. And then later on he went to visit friends. It is from there that he met with that accident and taken to the UTH where he died. I think that is a conspiracy theory, because we have no post-mortem that will tell us, well, look, his death, came because of this or because of that. Post-mortem was conducted, but we didn't press to look at it as bishops. So I think it is a good conspiracy theory. But coming to the relationship between the church and the state, always there are good relations, but they have turbulent times. It has to be like that because the church has to be prophetic. It has no alternative but to be prophetic. To be prophetic, it means to call a spade a spade. When you find something is not right being done by the government, and you say it so. And those that are in power, they are not always happy to be told that what they are doing is wrong, that they are not doing the work which they are supposed to do, they are not doing it well, or they are not doing it at all. So at every time, there is this uneasy relationship, but we know we have the same constituency. So we have to cooperate. We are all working for the good of the Zambian people. Sometimes we don't always agree on how we should go about it. So that uneasiness is bound to be there. And I think it is healthy that it is there, because if we become just one and we are admiring each other, then we are not doing our work as a church.
I was going to move to the next, the next touchy issue between the church again and the government, and this time it was during the, I think, the 90s, and we're talking about the late President Chiluba. Your relationship with the second Republican president at one time was really thorny, to the extent that you addressed a press conference and denounced him for allegations made to you personally and what you termed wild aspersions on the Catholic Church. Can you tell us what happened?
Actually, he was no longer president at that time.
Oh, okay.
You see, President, the late President Chiluba, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I'm not just building it up. We have even documentary evidence that he wanted to enhance the chances of the MMD government to win the elections that were supposed to come. So what do? He took advantage of an attack on him by late President Michael Sata. And that attack concerned his matrimonial life, you see. So now, to answer that attack, which was very personal, away from issues, as usual here in Zambia, the ways of playing politics are absolutely disgraceful. So now, the thinking was, you see, Michael Sata, as a Catholic, must have had a lot of support from the Catholic Church, including the Catholic hierarchy. Okay? So now, in order to discredit him, you don't discredit him alone, also discredit the Catholic Church. And if that discrediting is successful, the chances of PF winning elections will be diminished. Now, he went overboard by saying, look, see, this Michael Sata is talking about my marriage. Well, I find it very unfortunate. It was a press conference, on the Copper Belt. So now you can see the bishops' conference. The bishops' conference, they have a certain Archbishop Mpundu. Now Archbishop Mpundu is brother-in-law of Michael Sata, you see? And he has allowed such a thing to continue, meaning myself. It is misinforming people. I was never brother-in-law of Michael Sata. If one of my sisters, my youngest sister, as a matter of fact, had some relations with Michael Sata, it was a relation that was outside marriage. And that marriage was never known to my parents. Now my father is dead. My mother is still around. It was not known to me or my brothers. I still have brothers and other sisters. So this relationship is between the two of them. Why should I be involved in this? So he came to me. Now I said, I'm going to make matters clear. How do I make matters clear? I went to the media houses that had publicized this. You know, it was on television several times. Could you give me also a chance to give my side of the story? Oh, no. So when I saw that there was no way except to do it my own way, and I went ahead, I did it at a press conference to defend not my sister. I was not defending my sister. I was speaking the truth to defend myself, and through me defending the hierarchy of the Catholic Church. You see, even the bishops have allowed him to simply look at that relationship of his sister without saying anything. Okay, and then through defending the hierarchy, defending the Catholic Church, we are not kingmakers as the hierarchy or the Catholic Church. We are very proud of the plurality of political opinions among our faithful. That's how it should be. Our own ideas, political ideas, we keep to ourselves. When it comes to voting, we don't say vote for this political party or that political party or that person or that person. We say, look, the people you should be voting for, people who are responsible, people who have integrity, people who are honest, people who have qualities of leadership, who are going to deliver. But we don't say vote for that person or that political party. People have that kind of idea, that kind of misconception. We are not kingmakers at all. We explain what is at stake when votes come, when elections come, and we say, these are the people who have these qualities you should vote for. If you vote for people you know are thieves, you know are not going to deliver, you are not doing any good to this country.
Okay, let's move on now to late President Levis Mwanawasa. Yeah. You also had some kind of tiff, if I may call it, because of the National Constitutional Conference. Again, what transpired?
You see, we the church mother bodies looked at the composition of the National Constitution Conference. We came to the conclusion that the composition of that body was made in such a way that that body was bound to vote on certain issues. In fact, all the issues that government will carry the day, because most of those were government-related people. And so we said, we are not going to be part of the National Constitution Conference. We are not. And that it is on record. But somehow, though we were three church mother bodies, the attacks started going towards the Catholic Church. And we said, no, this is not right. I, as president of the conference at that time, gave a press conference to reiterate what we, as the Bishops' Conference, had said about the National Constitution Conference. We, the Catholic bishops, meeting in the executive board of 8th May 2007, exchanged notes and compared our experiences. Above all, we noted with great dismay the current impasse that surrounds the process towards a new Republican Constitution. 43 years after our independence, this country is still in dire need of an inclusive constitution that will not only stand the test of time, but also empower people to face the numerous challenges that this country is confronted with. We therefore remind the government once again to adopt a more progressive roadmap towards the enactment of the new constitution. We are aware that many countries in Africa have learned to look up to Zambia. After we peacefully passed from a one-party state to plural politics, we have an obligation to show the other countries how to peacefully pass from one outdated constitution to a people-driven one. We, Catholic bishops, together with the Catholic Church, and indeed the nation at large, are ready to give full support to this approach. Because anything short of this approach will only lead to more tensions and increased polarization and confrontation in our land. Our people deserve better. May the Almighty God bless our beloved nation, Zambia. So when I reiterated that, President Mwanawasa was not happy with it. But that is, it was his prerogative. I couldn't care less because that is the truth and the whole truth. But we didn't say we were not going to participate in the debate on the conference, on the constitution. We were going to participate through Caritas and through engaging other stakeholders, but not to be members of a body that was bound to carry the day in terms of voting because of the composition of the members. Right. And that is that. I remember one time, there was again one press conference that was given for my own benefit by late President Mwanawasa. Why? A few days before, there was a function that took place at Manda Hill. Now that function was organized by the National Museums Board. And there is a lady there who has a passion for museums to be created even in secondary schools. And Luitikila is one of those few secondary schools with a museum. So they organized a show, a kind of gallery at Manda Hill to showcase this museum. And the old girls of Luitikila girls were, not everyone, but most of them were contacted and they were part of this exhibition. What did they do? They also invited First Republican President Kenneth Kaunda to come, to be there, not to make a speech, but just to give credence to this wonderful initiative which was started by the staff in 1961, and it continues. And then they invited me to be there as well. I told them, look, I'm no longer even apostolic administrator of Mpika. Why don't you invite the Bishop of Mpika? Oh, that time it was the apostolic administrator, because the bishop was ordained only in 2008. Mm. And the organizers, and this particular lady said, but you have been longer in that place. You know the history of this place. That's why we would like you to be present. And we are asking you not to make any speech, just to be there to give us moral support. Can you refuse something like that? And this is an institution which I really enjoyed when I was in Mpika. A wonderful secondary school with a good record. So I said, I am coming. So we went to that gallery, which was done in Manda Hill. People were coming in and looking at all these pictures and so on and so forth. Immediately after that, we escorted the First Republican President to his motorcade with his driver. I followed him the way we do when we have prominent citizens. Now there, when President Kaunda left, the Post came, the newspaper. What can you say about the pronouncement of President Mwanawasa, that discussion, debate on the Constitution is treasonable? That was the question they asked me. I said, my dear brother, or is it my dear sister? I can't remember which journalist. President Mwanawasa is a lawyer. He could not have said what you are saying. He said, I wasn't here. When he came back from abroad, I was also abroad. So I cannot comment on something that I don't know. Maybe you misinterpreted him. No, this is exactly what he said. It is treasonable. I said, if he said that, then it will be laughable. Because as a lawyer, he is supposed to know that this Constitution is law number 1, which belongs to all of us. And we have a right to contribute by way of debate, expressing ourselves in all ways that are legal. So he couldn't say that, because if he said that, it would be laughable. Okay. Now, the following morning, in the Post, I was seen with President Kaunda sharing a joke and laughing together. He was a very pleasant man and a person who has vast experience. I have nothing against him. When he was in power, we used to tell him what we tell everybody. Now, the day after, they took away President Kaunda laughing with me. They left me alone in that picture. And then Mpundu laughs. And the story is about the Constitution. And so, President Mwanawasa was incensed. And he just dedicated one wonderful press conference to me. And he even invited me to go to State House for free lessons in constitutional law and so on and so forth. I declined the invitation. But I wrote to him and I said, look, you are playing in the hands of journalists. You are not fighting against me, I'm not fighting against you. This is what happened. And when he read that letter, he replied. Credit to him, he replied and said, Bishop, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was it. I said, I was not laughing at you. I was laughing at the very idea that you would say something like that as a lawyer. That was the end of it.
Okay. Well, that ended on a good note. But now, as I said earlier, the Catholic Church celebrated 125 years of its existence in Zambia, and the invited guest there, I do remember, was Vice President Inonge Wina, who actually came and gave a speech. Let's just take a look at this, and I would like you to respond afterwards.
Yes.
My message to the Catholic Church: we urge you to continue your mission of integral development. Your primary aim of spreading the good news of our Lord Jesus Christ must continue. The Catholic Church in Zambia today needs the support not only of its members, but of all the people of goodwill. I wish to assure you gathered here today, including the entire Catholic community in our country, that the government will continue to partner with and support the Catholic Church in its endeavors as we together promote development and deliver the much needed social services to our people.
How do you respond to what you said? I mean, in terms of relationships with the current administration, poverty and dictatorship statement that you made at some point?
Yeah, I think I will go back to what I told you, before. It is true, we have good relationships because we have the same constituency. We are working for the same people, and what we wish for our people is the same. Only we have different ways of doing that. So when we are cooperating, and like recently, for example, you're talking about health for our people. And then we had this cholera and so on and so forth. Where is government not found? When you go to health, the government is found there. In schools, the government is there. Food security, the government is there. So often we work together. But there are times where we see that certain things are not being done, or they're not being done well, or they're not being done well enough. And this is what I say. There will always be this kind of an easy collaboration. Collaboration is there, and there is no other way. We have no alternative but to work with the government. The government has no alternative but to work with us. We can as well make it as smooth as possible. Dr. Chitaruchi Ruvia was saying, we have a certain program with regard to education in health. And there is only one group that we know can play a greater role than it is doing now, and it is you. I mean, Dr. Chitaruchi is a Catholic. And he says, please, with all your influence, or the institutions, schools as well as, and especially hospitals, you can prevail upon our people to go for voluntary testing for HIV. No one is forced, but through you, you explain to the people that these facilities are there when you ask for them, and go and ask for them. Because once we know your status, the government comes in to give you the necessary medication so that your life is prolonged. And he came to speak to us, and we are very grateful. We have no alternative but to work together. But we agree to disagree on a number of issues, and that's how it should be.
So I'm glad to hear that. But tell me, you also mentioned the Dr. Chirufya,
yes.
The health minister,
Yeah.
who you said is a Catholic, and it just crossed my mind that there are other, I think, MPs and ministers who are Catholics. Do you feel that sometimes they act as catalysts, sometimes when you have all these issues that you want to, the church wants to bring, say, to the government?
Yeah, you see, it is really a known fact that not just Catholic, I'm saying Christian members of parliament, if they really exercised their role as salt of the earth, the leaven in the door, some of the legislation that comes up should not come up. Why? It is so easy for us Zambians. Syncretism is not a problem. I can be a good Catholic in the morning, praying at church, and after church, we even go as a lay apostolic movement because we are a Legion of Mary, Legion Maria, Legion, for the Rosary. But then in the evening, I'm consulting the witch doctor and the witch finder, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this separation of life. I am a Catholic, but when I'm in Parliament, I am a member of Parliament. No. If we are Christian all the time. Come rain, come sunshine. And that is what this ought to be. Because you see, priests can't be everywhere. You are the church in the marketplace, the church in schools, the church in institutions, for example, the RA. You bring in the integrity, our values, our Christian values. This country will be a lot better if our Christian leaders behaved like Christian, like Catholic. Because we are the same people who are in the church, and tomorrow we are stealing from the institution we are working for. We are the people who are involved in corruption. I think there should be an association, for example, of Catholic members of Parliament. Maybe we have not captured that area, so that the members of Parliament as Catholics, they are reminded that they are Christian there, especially in the law-making arena. It could be better. It could be better. And you yourself can agree with me that if our Catholic MPs behaved really like Catholics, we would have less violence, even less terrible talk about one another. That game need not be dirty if we are addressing only issues instead of being personal and insulting. It is very primitive to do what goes on. We wish things were better.
Okay.
And I'm urging our Catholic members of Parliament to be a little more forceful in being MPs who are Catholic.
Right. We have elections coming up in 2021. What is the advice from the church, and especially from you?
It is sad. We talk about our freedom fighters. Is this what they fought for, really? The time of elections, it's an exciting time. See what happens in the United States. I mean, it's not the best example, but it's one of the examples. In the UK, that time is a wonderful time because it is a time for people now to exercise their right to choose leaders of their own liking, instead of a crisis moment. Each time elections are coming, oh my God, the violence will come in. You don't convince people by beating them into submission. It is primitive, as simple as that. But you know, the institutions that go with elections also must be worked on. A process that is transparent, a process that is credible, a process that ensures that people are going to vote freely, they are not scared of violence. So we have to work on this. If we don't work on this, then we are responsible for what happens at elections. Instead of peaceful elections, we have violence. And those institutions that are supposed to do the needful in order to ensure free, fair, and credible elections, they do their work. And those that are tempted to interfere should not do that. That is really falsifying the will of the people. I think our freedom fighters were fighting for this freedom to go and choose. But not only to go and choose, before that, freedom to propagate our ideas without being intimidated. For example, if you are working in this particular ministry and you are seen at one political party meeting, then you are fired or you are given a warning. No, you are like a civil servant, okay, but you also have political rights. So that is it. We also, like church leaders, we have our own political rights. I go and exercise my right to vote. My political ideas, my choice of leader is my own choice. I'm not going to stand there and campaign for you, for example. No. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, please let us vote for a brother or a sister who is a person of integrity, someone who can deliver in terms of quality of leadership, and so on and so forth. So this is what I am saying. Let us look at all those processes that go with elections and perfect them, because they can bring in a lot of violence. To falsify the will of the people is a big danger in this country, because our electoral process has not been purified. Okay. Let us purify it, get rid of violence, and let us be Christian. Do unto others what we would like them to do unto you. That is basic. But no. Do unto others what they do to you.
I can see you're on fire. Now, let me ask this question away from politics now and say to you, if you were never a priest, what would you have been and why?
That is very, very hypothetical. The fact is that I'm a priest. But probably what you mean is if, today or tomorrow they reduced you to the seminary, or before the seminary, would you still have gone to the seminary and become a priest? Looking back, I have been happy doing what I wanted to be. I would do it again with pleasure, not with pressure.
Yeah. Okay.
I would do it again.
So as you retire now, what are your future plans This is an interesting question because I've never asked a person of your standing. Would you go farming, for instance? Would you go into business? What would you do?
I think farming will be too adventurous. At my age, I'm a senior citizen. To go into business, I am a priest. The business I would go into, if at all I wanted to, would be to encourage people to come together. We have, we Zambians, we have...
Mediation, perhaps?
No, wait a minute, I haven't finished yet. We are family, we are family-minded people. And yet, there's something wrong in Zambia, in that people have not learned to come together, to work together. Cooperatives collapsed. And yet, without cooperatives, people on their own, those who succeed are very few. And if I had to go into business, it is to try and help people to realize the importance of working together. They asked that question to late Cardinal Otunga. What are you going to do now that you have retired? He said, I'm going to do nothing, and I'll do it very well. But then he said, look, once a priest, always a priest. Okay. I want to remain a priest and continue being of some help anywhere, especially celebrating Mass. But mostly to enter into this apostolate of prayer. The apostolate of prayer is, there are people out there doing work of evangelization, the mission of our Lord Jesus Christ, which is the mission of the church, the mission of all Christians. They need prayers. I would want to accompany them with my own prayers, humble prayers. And this is very important. Someone who has retired and is involved in this, they are doing a tremendous lot. There was the saint, a young saint, at the age of 24, she died and she was already a saint. Later on, she was canonized, Saint Teresa of the Child Jesus. She had never been to the mission. She was a contemplative. And yet, she was later on made a patron saint of missions and even missionaries, because she never forgot to pray for missionaries and mission work. It was part of her sacrifice. I would like, in a very humble way, to do that, to pray for the mission here in Zambia, so that we are truly Catholic and truly African and truly Zambians.
Any plans for your memoirs? And having said that, I was going to ask, what kind of literature really do you read?
Well, I think I have a lot of interests. I read the issues which are quite interesting to me, like matters of governance. Why are we so poor in Africa? And yet Africa is a rich continent. Maybe governance, maybe education, quality education, maybe people who keep to the values, human values and Christian values. I think all those areas put together would make Zambia, a lot more on the road to sustainable development. So when I get, books on that, then I go for them. Right now I have about 3 or 4 of them that I'm reading concerning governance, concerning also the various legal systems that we have across the African continent. These systems which permit people in the executive to be manipulated and so on and so forth. Why does that happen? It is all right to talk about it and to say this is not good, but what can be done about it? I would like to go a bit to the bottom of that.
And the memoirs?
Memoirs, well, I will wait until I'm about 1 month before I die to do that.
Okay then, how would you want to be remembered?
I don't want to force anything on the people. I want people to choose what they want to remember me by.
And lastly, would you have any word for your folk out there as we wind up the interview.
For me, it has been an honor and a privilege, to serve as a priest, as a bishop, to serve God's people. And in this service, it has not just been, restricted to the Catholic Church, because our Lord doesn't want his mission to be just restricted to a small group of people. We are serving other people. I tried my best to do my best, to serve, to be at the service of God's people. And I hope my best was good enough for the people I've been serving. If it wasn't, still my conscience is clear, is that someone cannot do better than their best, can they?
No, they can't. Archbishop, would like to thank you so much.
I am truly, truly grateful.
It is true, great leaders are remembered not because of power, but because of service. Archbishop Mpundu gave his life to God, to the people of Zambia with compassion, and served the church with distinction. His fearless courage will never be forgotten. His wisdom will continue to inspire generations. And his legacy will live on in the hearts of countless people whose lives he touched. Though he is gone from our sight, his spirit remains alive in the church he faithfully served. Rest in peace. Faithful servant, rest in peace. Fearless voice of truth, rest in peace. Archbishop Emeritus Telesford George Mpundu,